Is it time to work at UPS? Because their starting salaries are starting to jump up a lot. There's a lot of headlines out there saying that UPS pay hikes are now attracting a lot of people. People on Indeed start to search up UPS jobs. A 50% increase on UPS jobs on Indeed has happened recently just because of the pay increase. And there's some articles out there that suggest and say that some people with few years of experience at UPS can earn almost nearly $50 an hour. Wow, right? Now, what does that mean for the other, you know, service companies, the packaging companies out there, like, for example, FedEx? They will also need to hike up their prices. And other people in this industry will also need to hike up their wages. What about people working in other companies and other industries saying that, hey, I can get a better salary if I go work at UPS? Why do I need to work here? Well, maybe they will also need to hike up their wages. And that's a problem. And that's a problem we saw, especially during COVID, when Amazon was hiking the pay raise to, I think it was $20 an hour or higher for their warehouse workers. And then a lot of companies followed behind, started hiking the wages, because, again, problem with labor, problem that these employees wanted higher pay, otherwise they will go somewhere else or not work at all. And then guess what? The companies caved in and they said, okay, it's time to give you what you want, hike the wages. But then, guess what? What does that do to inflation? What does that do to the prices, especially when you're getting shipments and delivery cost, everything out there? The cost goes up. If you're a business that relies on the shipping industry, you're a consumer who's going out and buying products from retailers or anywhere, you will see the cost go up. Right? Amazon, the shipping costs and so on will go up because of all of this. So it's a spiral that never ends because wage component continues to go up, and wage, as we know and as I talked about before, ends up being very, very sticky. And if that's the case, then when we look at the next jobs report and the continuation of future jobs report, the wage component is going to be sticky. The businesses saying that, hey, we can, since wages are going up, we can pass off the cost to the consumers. So items are still going to be pricey out there. Certain goods, services, which is still a problem in the last CPI report, services was high up there in terms of its inflation, in terms of its the component in the inflation report. That continues to be high up there, will remain high, or maybe even move up. That will probably also remain sticky. And if that's the case, then services will pinch the consumers. It will be passed on to the consumers. And then what if you're a central banker? What do you do when you look at this? How do you react? That's my question. That if this doesn't end, if the businesses say, okay, fine, here are the wages. We'll just pass on the cost to the consumers because they're accepting and they're buying it anyways. Or, they need their shipments, they need their certain items. They're going to buy it and because they're getting higher wages. And then they'll come back and say, hey, cost of living's too much. Give us a higher salary. What do? Okay, fine, here you go. Higher salary because we're having problems with labor and we're just going to up the prices again. So you see, the cycle never ends. And then again, going back to what I was saying, if you're a central banker, if you're the Federal Reserve looking at this, what do? You look at this and you're like, hey, it's not, this is not what we want. And inflation is not coming down. The wage component, certain items popping up higher. And then again, oh my gosh, the nail in the coffin, the nail of the coffin that no one's really talking about. I mean, yeah, headline CPI has been coming down and making the inflation report look good. But if energy picks back up, prices of crude oil and gasoline and natural gas, like we're seeing right now, starting to pick back up, If crude oil goes above $100 a barrel, now what the central bank is going to do? Well, guess what? They're going to come back and they're going to fight it with higher and higher rates. Does that mean that we go to 7%, 8% interest rates, 9%? Like I said in my previous video, the bond market's going to test the market for sure. If the central bank doesn't, the long end yields will continue to move up higher, bonds will continue to sell off. And if the economy looks good and everyone says soft landing, Goldilocks, blah, 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 then great, growth is fine, then fine. If that's the case, then that means the economy can handle it. The growth is fine. That, the economy can handle all the tightening, all the higher rates. So the central bank can continue to tighten and raise rates. Maybe not raise rates in the same way as they did before, or maybe they could if things really jump up, but maybe pause, then raise rates. Pause, then raise rates. Pause and raise rates, right? It's like, show me what you show me on those jobs reports and show me how the inflation is and how everything's panning out. If the growth is still robust and everything's fine and it looks like there's no landing, it looks like that there is, no recession and everything's fine, then there's no reason to be cutting rates in an environment, especially next year, if an environment where the wages continue to go up, prices continue to go up, and inflation's still sticky and not at the 2% target. So the cycle repeats and goes and goes and goes and goes. Makes no sense that why in the early of next year we would see any kind of rate cuts if FedEx or UPS or Amazon or any of these companies decide that, hey, we'll just hike, increase our wages and hike the prices because the economy can handle it. I don't think the central banks will accept that so easily and will come to fight it till really UPS figures out that, okay, we don't need these employees, we don't need these employees, and we're going to start to get rid of them, and, we don't have to pay as high as we did before, right? And then you'll get that really big demand crunch, which is then the narrative of soft landing eventually changes to hard landing. And the hard landing then arrives, and then you can guess what happens afterwards. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers, bye.